and welcome back to the official YouTube channel of Anastasis Academy, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome all of you to Bibliophile 13. This is a series wherein we look at articles and blogs and essays from all across the web, and we try to analyze and improve our reading habit. So, the article that we have taken up today is Social Media Addiction Disrupts the Sleep, Moods, and Social Activities of Teens and Young Adults. Let's get started. It took half a century for the first American Surgeon General report to establish the link between tobacco and lung cancer. In response, companies infiltrated media and genetically modified tobacco leaves to make them even more addictive. So the author does not right away start with social media. He starts with another example to draw a parallel. The author is trying to draw a parallel or give an analogy. Analogy is a similar relationship. So first of all, there was a lot of time taken in order to establish the link between lung cancer and smoking. And then when it was finally established, tobacco companies chose to respond with making tobacco leaves even more addictive. Curiously, tech companies developed similar compelling algorithms to create dependence among users. These technologies appear innocuous. So the word innocuous. Innocuous means harmless. Innocuous means harmless. Okay. So these technologies that tech companies have developed, they seem very harmless, but should be regulated, according to the author. There are objectionable consequences regarding the influence of algorithms because they manipulate users by creating false perceptions, dependencies, and addiction. So this is the effect of social media. This is the effect of social media. Today's youth are among the first generations to not have experienced life before the internet. So we are talking about the generation, the Gen Z, who have not seen life before the advent of internet and World Wide Web. For many, their most important generational memory will be that of security concerns associated with terrorism or the recent pandemic. I mean, the author clearly talks about the doomed childhood of those who were born after the onset of technological advancement in terms of internet, right? The generational memory that they would have is security concerns about terrorism, number one, and the recent pandemic, number two. That's their childhood memory. Advancements in communications and internet technologies have produced a virtually integrated world. Parents, guardians, educators struggle to make sense of how to manage youth online. So, here is where the author actually underlines a concern. And the irony. Can you see the irony in this sentence? The world is virtually integrated, and hence it is supposed to be something good. But nevertheless, the educators and the parents and the guardians are still struggling to manage the youth online. Designed to be addictive. Research in neuroscience has established that adolescence lasts into one's 20s. So the author is talking about the period of adolescence before a person can be deemed as an adult. And beyond for youth with neurodevelopmental disorders. Neurodevelopmental disorders would mean nerve related. Nerve related. Making universities a prime site for addressing and managing problematic social media use. So people who are well into their 20s and they have neurodevelopmental disorders which would run well into their 20s, these are the places. The universities have become places for addressing and managing problematic social media use. Social media are designed to be addictive. That is the design of this particular platform. Driven and reinforced by dopamine. Dopamine is the human hormone responsible for making people calm and relaxed. Calmness inducing, right? Teens and emerging adults are susceptible. Susceptible means vulnerable, prone. Teen and emerging adults are susceptible to acceptance and rejection through social media, making them particularly responsive to such media and emotionally addicted. So people, of course, you have seen that, people seek a lot of validation on social media. Their sense of worth, self-worth, is based on how much acknowledgement they are getting on social media, you know. So that is a problem. And the acceptance part is one problem, and the rejection part is a completely different ball game altogether. It can scar people. Daily use of social media is associated with a significantly increased risk of self-harm, which we can see, and depression for adolescents. Young people are complaining of depression, anxiety, panic attacks, so on and so forth. The added sleep cycle disruption explain part of the association with depressive symptoms. So because there is a lot of sleep deprivation that is happening, people are going to bed with their mobiles in their hands, and they are, scrolling mindlessly through reels and other inputs. It kind of disrupts their sleep cycle too, and that could be one of the things that can explain the depressive behavior. Even moderate screen use is associated with mental health difficulties that require medication. That's how bad it is. So the author talks about the severity of the symptoms. Severity of the symptoms. The lockdowns caused by COVID-19 pandemic only aggravated the situation. Finding belonging. Youth peruse as in they use social media to derive a sense of belonging or to avoid challenges in their offline lives. So it kind of acts as a distraction. So something which can make me belong to a certain group of people or an ideology or a purpose or a cause, or something that can take my mind off from the regular rigmarole of my offline existence. Compared to live interactions, social online socialization has been associated with intolerance to negative emotions and poor concentration. So this is a stark contrast between real life, one second, real life interactions and online interactions. As a result, youth experience an inability to manage frustration, fear, sadness, and academic difficulties, all negative emotions. These risks could lead to problems in education, work, and relationships. One study revealed that young people were motivated to scroll as a coping mechanism or out of habit or boredom. So, what are the triggers? Coping mechanism to stress, habit, or boredom. The researchers found that staying off social media for 1 week led to less FOMO. FOMO is fear of missing out. Every now and then, we're trying to pick up our phones and see what's happening, even if it is irrelevant to our progress or our lives. Another study found that staying off social media for 1 week led to significant reductions in depression and anxiety in 154 adults. Here, the author is giving us premise to draw a conclusion that if you're off social media, you might see some improvement in your overall mental health. In yet another study, university students were instructed to limit their use for each application to 10 minutes daily. While a control group used social media as usual to show the contrast again. The group taking a break reported an overall improvement in well being, achieved mainly through sleep quality. Short breaks from being online, even as little as 2.5 hours at a time, has a positive effect on perceived life satisfaction. A study of 65 university students used daily journals to track social media use and experienced emotions, just to track the social media interaction and the commensurate up and down in their moods. The controlled group used social media, sorry, but the group who abstained experienced improved behaviors, feelings during and after abstinence. Abstinence is keeping away from something. Comes from the word abstain. Abstain is the verb, abstinence is the noun. Keeping away from something. Overcoming addiction. Weaning off can also have a synonym, something like tapering off. Like you don't do it cold turkey, you kind of reduce it bit by bit. Weaning off, weaning someone off social media is similar to giving up a food, drug, gambling, or alcohol addiction. Cognitive behavioral approaches, as in mind related, intellect related behavioral approaches, such as keeping a daily journal, reading on paper, listening to music or podcasts, planning social activities, sharing meals with friends and family, physical activity, active transportation, a daily gratitude practice, and bundling mundane activities with enjoyable ones can help support the transition. So, these are the steps one can take. Here, the author is listing down steps to wean off social media, not in a cold turkey manner, not in an abrupt manner, but in a planned manner. Such strategies create tolerance for solitude. Solitude is being alone. There is a world of difference between being alone and being lonely, right? Being alone is being okay in solitude. At times, when a user may be tempted to go online, after giving up social media for a week, users experienced less distress, more active behavior, and a more positive outlook on how to live life more mindfully, in better awareness, that is. Most of the people who are using social media, or they are on screen for a good 5 to 6 hours a day, it's almost like we are sleepwalking through life. So yes, it is something worth thinking about mindfully and efficiently. There is a consensus means collective agreement on something. That social media is deliberately designed to introduce and sustain addiction. The overuse of social media is detrimental to well being. The author concludes, therefore, we suggest that universities launch a challenge campaign that sensitizes, make something that can make people more sensitive, and then discourages leisure screen use. Leisure as in baseless, meaningless, purposeless, directionless screen use for a period of 72 hours each semester to foster means to promote student organizational, effective, and cognitive growth. This would set the stage for better lifelong habits and success. Okay, so clearly the author in this particular article does talk about the evils of social media usages. So author begins, what is the main idea? First of all, he asserts that it is designed to be addictive, and then the reasons why a person might gravitate towards social media usage, distraction and belonging. Moving on to how a person can calmly, quietly taper off and how it would make their lives better. And the author concludes with um, the role of universities, the prospective role of universities in uh, initiating this change in the youth, because people well into their 20s are indulging in this kind of behavior. More often than not, they are in universities. You would get the link to the original article in the description box. Keep reading. And this is something I always say, and I'm going to maintain this, that the more you read, the better are your chances of scoring well in the reading comprehension section of CAT. And try to have a very eclectic blend of topics and sources to read from, so that you keep challenging your mind to understand a range of things, understand passages in depth. I'm not saying that you have to always take up an esoteric passage. For example, this was a fairly easy passage. So keep learning, keep reading, and all the best. I'm going to see you in the next episode.